and welcome to yet another edition of Fourth Estate here on ZTN Prime, Channel 294. On this show, we tackle all things media and journalism in Zimbabwe, and I'm your host, Tinomuda Chakanyuka. Now today we look at the ongoing media practitioners' engagements with different political parties as we, of course, approach this year's harmonized elections. Now the first engagement was with the ruling ZANU-PF. Mr. Zimbabwe Board of Trustees Chairperson Christian Aka got the ball rolling, highlighting that they are working with the Zimbabwe Media Commission to address several complaints that have been raised in the media. He implored political players to accommodate and protect media personnel as they cover their events.
Any issues that of a professional nature that may arise as a matter of complaints from political parties or any other person who has issues with the public, that we are open to a discussion in order to address those complaints against the media as professionally as possible, which is why I think our executive director from the Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe is around, and that we are working with also the statutory Zimbabwe Media Commission in addressing some of the issues and complaints against the media in order to raise the level of professionalism. But most importantly, that we're looking to ZANU-PF as one of as the ruling party and a contestant in this part in the elections, to welcoming journalists to its functions as much as possible, to protecting them, to note that they should not have any complaints, that when those complaints are there, we find ways of dealing with those complaints in a professional way as possible. Just my last point is that we, in our engagements with the police command around the country, while we committed ourselves to working together, they also said it is extremely important. In fact, in their case, they thought we should have engaged the political parties first before the engagements with the police to discuss the environment, to discuss practical ways in which to improve that environment, and to discuss ways in which we can deal with complaints against the media where they arise, and that on their part they are committed to ensuring that as much as possible the environment is one that's free, and that's on their part they are expecting the media also to be as professional as possible and to understand mutually how each one of us work. Thank you, Secretary General, and thank you to your team for welcoming us, and to my colleagues that we are here for an open but professional engagement to deal with professional issues, that way we may express ourselves strongly. The aim is still the same, to try be understood and try to get from you the best that we can also get both for our media environment, for our country, for our region. We recognize we all work for the public.
Media Alliance of Zimbabwe Program Manager Nigel Nyamtumbu called on political parties and the media to promote peaceful campaigns and eschew hateful language against women and children.
That we all, as political leaders and the media, we actively use our sphere of influence in promoting peaceful campaigns, and that you utilize the professional bodies, the Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe Union of Journalists, when you also feel aggrieved by the media, or when they seek unprofessional assistance, so that they can cover you favorably and so forth. We want to ensure that we preserve professionalism and hold it sacrosanct. And that as the media and hopefully political leaders would desist from using hate language or inflammatory language or demeaning against women and children. And that on the part of the media, we should be providing fair and equitable coverage to all contesting parties and candidates in conforming with the legal and professional obligations of the media, and that political parties will popularize your security protocols with the media so that there is that respectful engagement between members of the security details, be it at political rallies or at press conference or at events, political events with an impact on public interest or with the affairs of the country. So we may need to just familiarize. This is how you do if you have an accreditation process or if you have point persons that the media can utilize. That would be appreciated. And on the part of us, we should also be easily identifiable. I think the Zimbabwe Media Commission is already working on press jackets and other mechanisms to ensure that we are protected in times of public disorder situations. So we are basically sharing this pledge and recommendations for your consideration, possible adoption. In Lesotho, they had a similar process with the various electoral stakeholders, and it did prove to work. They managed to actually have a peaceful process insofar as the electoral process was concerned. So for us, we do have already a media police action plan, and we are hoping that some of these recommendations that I have outlined could inform a basis of an electoral pledge of some sort that we enter as the media and political parties, that we can then review to say, were we easily identifiable? Did we offer fair coverage? Were we secure when we were covering? And together, because the trust in development, the unfortunate thing, the comrade has left. For us, we are a friend to facts, a friend to professionalism, enemy to none. We may not necessarily be friends to all, but our main friend is facts and the truth and professionalism, ethical journalism, but we have no enemy. With those recommendations, Secretary General, that will be it from the side of the media.
These engagements are necessitated by previous violations of journalists' rights, especially during election season. And ZUJ Secretary General Perfect Longwane speaks on this subject.
We also thought that it would be prudent to engage, because we'd seen that journalists at times are violated by being denied access to cover events, different events, and because of where they are deployed or who they work for, we find that they are then denied access. So we thought that it would be prudent to engage political parties. The safety and security of journalists for us is very important, and we know that as we are heading towards an election, what we have seen is that most of the times there is that violation, there is violence of journalists. Violence comes in different forms. It comes through physical violence on the person of the journalist. Mm-hmm. It also comes through the confiscation of their gadgetry, as they will be using to capture news. It also comes when they are asked to delete material that they would have captured at such events. That actually then leads to another violation, which we jokingly say it's economic, because some of our journalists are freelancers, and because they are freelancers, they eat what they kill. If they are then asked to delete material, they are not able to get paid. So at the end of the day, it becomes an economic matter. It compromises the food security for our journalists. So it's another area of concern. Why do we engage? It's because we think that political parties play a very important role in ensuring and preaching peace, in ensuring that there is safety around not just journalists, but even general citizenry across the country. So we thought that we would engage on that. What we have done so far is we have also engaged with the police as a starting point to say we need to understand the way that we operate. The police must understand how we operate as the media, and the media also understanding how the police operates. And we have agreed in those engagements. We went across the country to meet the commanders of the police, and we have agreed with the police that as we are going into this election, we need to complement one another and work together. And we think that this is what we are also going to have in an engagement such as this one. We have also started training our journalists on issues that are issues of professionalism. To say if our journalists are going to be reporting on any issue, on any political development in the country, they have to be guided by ethics, they have to be guided by the code of conduct that we have as media houses and as journalists. And we have committed that as the media, we are going to be professional in our conduct. We are going to be bound by ethical considerations, as it were. However, we think that we also are calling for political parties in such engagements to say, when you see us as journalists doing our work, we are doing it drawing from the Constitution, from the mandate given by the Constitution. And that Constitution in sections 61 and 62 does give freedoms, which freedoms we are saying we need to work together, we need to work together to ensure that we attain, or the journalists are able to enjoy those freedoms. So these are some of the things that we have done as the media.
Kongwane also spoke on journalism and professionalism.
We have also started training our journalists on issues that are issues of professionalism. To say if our journalists are going to be reporting on any issue, on any political development in the country, they have to be guided by ethics, they have to be guided by the code of conduct that we have as media houses and as journalists. And we have committed that as the media, we are going to be professional in our conduct, we are going to be bound by ethical considerations, as it were. However, we think that we also are calling for political parties in such engagements to say, when you see us as journalists doing our work, we are doing it drawing from the Constitution, from the mandate given by the Constitution. And that Constitution in sections 61 and 62 does give freedoms, which freedoms we are saying we need to work together, we need to work together to ensure that we attain, or the journalists are able to enjoy those freedoms.
ZPF Secretary for Administration Obed Mpofu encouraged media to continue with such engagements.
You see, Comrade Gabila and your colleagues, I think to make these interactive meetings a regular feature.
Yes.
So that we clear all the wrong perceptions that we hold against each other. I agree with you. If there are you see, there are certain policy positions that we also did not agree with during the time of the professor and all those laws that really created a problem in the journalism fraternity. And because there was not much lobbying for or against them, they were led to pass, and they created a few challenges to us. But now I think the current minister is amenable to listen and correct. And that's the position that the president holds. But let's talk. Let's agree to disagree. That's how we should do. But this business of making enemies amongst ourselves as Zimbabweans doesn't help. It's not sustainable. You find someone so emotional against an individual that he thinks or she thinks is an enemy to him or her. It doesn't help this country. It doesn't. So we will certainly check. In some cases, write to us, raising those points, so that when we meet every Monday here. The meetings that I chair every Monday, to look at what people say, what people think, and how we can deal with issues. So if we don't know about those proposed reforms, it will be difficult for us to talk about them. Let's have those positions. So I welcome that kind of a position. And in fact, all that what you have said is something that is not difficult for us to accept.
And the party's Secretary for Security, Tendai Chirau, spoke on the different various pitfalls of polarization in Zimbabwe's media sector.
I'm noticing that we have different journalists here from different media houses. Those from the mainstream media, those from the private media, and they are working together as a team. So it means that sometimes what we see in the papers, it's a facade. They work together. But what then governs their content is the editorial policy. So some of the, no matter how maybe in some instances, how a journalist writes a story, they write maybe the facts are there, but then the editors, we now go back to ZNF, because they are mandated to work according to the established editorial policy slant, they take that route. So the Menendez that could have written the story, Vanyora Gutiwampofu has said this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just because the editorial slant of that paper doesn't allow that, the editor will panel beat that story to suit the editorial policy of that agenda. So polarization is not with the journalist, but it is with editorial policies within the media houses. I also have another challenge which is also happening within the media sector, is the issue of extortion. I have a story that SG Mpofu maybe is externalizing some cash. And the journalist does investigative journalism, gets that information, And because he or she wants money, they come to you, ramp off, panapande nenyaya. And the yakatomira soma so such on dana ningi nana ningi. Dara kuti sato buda ito budenza $15,000. So such occurrences, apart from issues of brown envelope journalism, some of journalists are now extortionists. They are no longer doing journalism for publishing, but they are looking for information just to get money. I think Comrade Chinake talked about the information ecosystem. So it's now being cut because of these issues of money.
No, we also had a Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe Executive Director Lofty Dube speaking on media house editorial policies, which he said should not stand in the way of facts and ethics.
What matters most to us journalists, minus the political, are the ethics. The ethics are universal. If you write to say Zimbabwe brought in 38 ambulances, helicopters at 600 million, is that factual? No, it's not true. How much are the helicopters? You need to correct that ethically on issues of accuracy. If you say, if Vicky says they bought 40 helicopters which will cover the whole country, I say, how many districts are there? It's not true. You are using facts. So I'm not worried. You can write, go to a rally and say this was said, pick what you want. It's just land. But if you go to a rally and say there were 90,000 people, say no. Look, what is the capacity of Rufaro is 20,000. So it's false. We're using factual things. So we don't mind. In journalism, the standard is not about the media house policy, it's about the ethics. Yeah. That's what matters.
I agree with you.
That was my first point.
Zimbabwe National Editors Forum Vice Chairperson Victoria Rudidzo appealed for open lines of communication between media practitioners and, of course, political parties.
Particularly during elections, there are many stakeholders who are interested in their various aspects. Some want the elections to go in a certain manner, or they want this party to win or this other party to win. So as editors, we're faced with all those parties. We are faced with all such kind of information and news coming to us. So our role is then to verify together with our teams. We have in our newsrooms, we have reporters, we have line editors, then we have the senior editors. So it behoves us to ensure that we verify and fact check. So this is also a big area where we would need your help and assistance, because sometimes we face challenges where we want to verify or to get information. We get a bit of roadblocks there. Some are not willing to speak. Some are saying, because as ZTN we represent both private and public, and some are saying, okay, you want to ask from Newsday, it means you have got this mission. You want to ask from the Herald, from the Sunday Mail, it means your mission is like this. But our desire is to ensure that the facts play out in the public space. So we do really need your assistance and commitment to ensure that we have maybe open lines of communication where we can quickly verify. Some are daily newspapers, some are weekly newspapers. So dailies are usually sitting on the edge all the time. And even those weekly, they also have digital platforms where they are posting news as it happens. So it will be critical. I know we have instances where reporters have come to report that they're trying to get hold of, I'm not saying within ZANU-PF only, all over. They're trying to get information, but it does not come at the time or before our deadline. Hence, sometimes you may go to print. Either we leave out that story, but usually we don't leave it out. We just put the sentence, no comment could be obtained from ZANU-PF. So that is dangerous, if I may say, because a no comment means you're actually authenticating that, whether it's an accusation or an allegation. If you say no comment, it's like you are saying, it's the truth, but I won't tell you it's the truth. So it's better to comment than to say no comment. In our preparedness as editors and as newsrooms, our reporters are going through training processes and acclimatization with such acts as the Electoral Act and others such as we seek to be up to speed with issues so that we report from an informed position. A dangerous journalist is one that reports from a position of ignorance. it means they are not even sure of what they are writing. How about the publics to which they are writing or maybe producing a TV program or a radio program for? So it is important that they are acclimatized, they are up to speed with that sport. So that we have already begun to do. We also conducting, as what's been said by the previous speakers, we are conducting stakeholder engagements. We are part of the team and the process where we're meeting ZAC, the police, and now the political parties, as is the case this morning. And we hope that such meetings will surely ensure that we access information. It's key in media as journalists to access information, correct information that is easily verifiable, that we can easily fact check, so that at least we have also the trust of the media, of our publics, and also so that we play our role as the media effectively.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of Fourth Estate. Let's make a date next week, same time, same place. Pleasant viewing.